Right, we have a new government in place, also with new departmental structures, so let's talk about what that means for science. Firstly, with people. The three champions for science in the previous government were the Science Minister Joe Johnson, the Life Sciences Minister George Freeman, and the Chair of the Science and Technology Committee, Nicola Blackwood. And all three of those were for Remain, and all three of those clearly showed that they understood the issues and were gunning hard for UK science. Where are they now? Joe Johnson has stayed in place as the Science Minister. Good. George Freeman, the Life Science Minister, is no longer in that role. He has been promoted to be the chair of the Prime Minister's Policy Board. Nicola Blackwood is no longer in the position of chair of the Science and Technology Committee. She has been promoted to the Department of Health, junior minister. So there are losses and gains in that. Let's talk about Theresa May herself, though. She is not particularly a friend of UK science, as you look at her voting records previously, but most importantly, she is not at all pro-immigration, as UK universities found out in her previous role. And in fact, when she came in to her new job, she was keen to revive that promise of the Cameron government of reducing immigration to tens of thousands per annum, which is utterly ludicrous and would be incredibly damaging. Fortunately, her senior ministers seem to be strongly against that. But she is also no friend of the environment, having voted before to sell off our forests and also voting against tighter controls on fracking. So watch out. Now, in terms of the new departmental structures, there is a new department for exiting the EU and a new department for international trade. There is also a new department which has been formed from the smashing together of Business Innovation and Skills, with the Department for Energy and Climate Change to make a new department called Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, and that's headed by Greg Clark, who was at one point UK Science Minister, so there's some experience there. But our Science Minister, Joe Johnson, is now straddled between two departments because universities have moved from Biz to the Department for Education. He is now reporting to the Department of Education and this new Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. The fact that he has two bosses, is that good or bad? I don't know, but we'll have to see. But the major concern here is all of the things that interest science fall between the cracks between a lot of these departments. So if you think about medical tech companies that feed off EU grants and want to work with universities, that clearly falls between a lot of them. I personally think there should be a new department for science, innovation and synergies that actually harnesses all of the part of the economy that actually works in innovation between universities and small businesses and large businesses and interactions internationally. But there we go. Another important thing is that the Life Sciences Minister position has not been filled and might not be filled. That would be a major loss because not only did George Freeman do a great job in that role, knowing the background, but it's an important sector. It's our third largest industrial sector with 160,000 employees across 4,000 companies. So that does need to be represented. Now, in terms of what this all means for the government strategy going forward, I think it's quite worrying that we're not seeing innovation in any of the titles or science in any of the titles, and climate change has been dropped. Now, climate change is a big defining challenge of our era. It's very science-centric, and it looks as though Theresa May has structured her government in order to pursue deregulation and trade around the world. Now, trade deals could also involve more deregulation in terms of those deals made. So we could be looking at a more neoliberal, dirtier Britain, which is certainly the vision that the Brexiteers had. So the challenge for science and universities and tech and education is how to counter that, because if we just get in the way of that, if the economy is going down and the government feels that it needs to stimulate it through deregulation, and we are merely getting in the way by saying, no, we need to maintain standards on food and environment and air quality and water quality and protection of basic rights for the sake of health, then that might not be a winning argument, just getting in the way. What we have to do is we need the alternative argument of why invest in the knowledge economy? Because it drives growth. It is what the UK does best. And in order to invest in the knowledge economy, which promotes all of those small businesses, 2/3 of our economy are small businesses, they're the ones that grow fastest in any economic rebounds, and they pull in that diversity of jobs. The way to support the knowledge economy is to support higher education, to have a pro-immigration policy, to support collaborations internationally. Staying close to the EU is vital to that, and sharing a lot of regulations with the EU is vital to that. So that's what we need to do going forward. We need to protect British science, innovation, higher education and tech by petitioning for what it can actually do for our economy and setting up that alternative model to the deregulated, dirty Britain neoliberal model. That's where I see the challenge as being.